Hello and good evening. My name is Reinhold Huber, and tonight I'll be presenting a case study on the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Now here's the agenda for this evening. First, I'll provide you all with my background. Then I'll describe the project itself, discuss the problems the project encountered, talk a little bit about how the project did, what the ultimate outcome was, and then finally I'll go over some lessons learned. First, I'll provide you all with my background. I've been an engineer in the aerospace industry for almost 17 years, working entirely on geostationary satellites. I spent 14 years at Boeing in El Segundo, California, before moving my family to Colorado and joining Lockheed Martin. During my career, I've launched 5 spacecraft, including 3 GO spacecraft from Cape Canaveral in Florida and 2 commercial spacecraft from Baikonur in Kazakhstan. I don't have much work-related project management experience, so I decided to do my presentation on one of my passions instead. Now, I played soccer since I was 6 years old. I'm currently in the Athletics Hall of Fame at both Fort Collins High School and the Colorado School of Mines for my soccer achievements at those schools. Additionally, I was fortunate enough to play professionally and was selected to the All-Pro team while leading the league in scoring my first season. Unfortunately, a back injury ended my career short. After 4 back surgeries, I was forced to pursue my career in aerospace. But my passion for soccer is still strong, which is why I chose this topic. Alright, next I'll describe the project. In 2007, Brazil was selected by FIFA as the host for the 2014 World Cup. Brazil selected 12 host cities around the country to host the games, which are shown on this map. In order to qualify as the host of the World Cup, a country must satisfy various selection criteria as determined by FIFA, which is the world governing body of soccer. Criteria include the political and economic status of the host country, the media and marketing information on the host country, and various hosting conditions. Hosting conditions include information on proposed stadiums to be used for the competition, particularly the capacity of the stadiums, the quality of the stadiums, safety in the immediate neighborhoods, and transportation to and from the stadiums. Also, the host nation must provide facilities for the teams and referees, and must be able to provide enough hotels and accommodations for the fans. In addition, the host nation must have suitable airports and transportation infrastructure, and must provide a safe environment for the fans, players, and organizers. So next I'll discuss some problems that Brazil encountered preparing to host the World Cup. Starting with scope management, Brazil decided to go with 12 stadiums while FIFA only required 8. Not to mention that none of the stadiums met FIFA's requirements, which meant that work would need to be done on all 12 stadiums. Some of the stadiums had huge safety deficiencies, so in the end, 6 stadiums had to be built from scratch. A tremendous amount of work would need to be done to repair or modernize much of Brazil's poor infrastructure as well. And FIFA's sustainability requirements continued adding scope creep to the project due to requirements changes during the project. Next, there were cost management issues. The project was severely over budget. The initial budget was approximately $1 billion, and a year before the World Cup even started, the costs were already in excess of $8 billion. In addition, there were major time management problems. Schedule delays on the stadium renovations threatened the opening of the World Cup, and some venues were threatened to be canceled altogether, which has never happened in any previous World Cup. Stakeholder management proved to be an enormous problem on this project. So despite the poor conditions in Brazil, including rising inflation, high crime, poor health care and education systems, high unemployment, and high public debt, priority was given to stadiums over public infrastructure, healthcare, and education programs. Now, even though Brazilians are extremely passionate about soccer, many didn't want to host the World Cup due to the social issues the country was facing at the time. Many anti-government protesters took to the streets to express their discontent with the World Cup. Moreover, there were many risk management problems. In particular, many risks seemed to be ignored or unaccounted for. For example, poor working conditions in many areas of Brazil due to the hot tropical weather caused unexpected stadium delays. Additionally, in 2007, when Brazil was awarded the World Cup, it was prospering from economic growth. However, Since then, it experienced rising inflation and record low consumer confidence. If this was not accounted for early in the project could experience delays and cost overruns. Next, I'll discuss how the project did. So 11 of the 12 stadiums missed deadlines set by FIFA, with Arena de Sao Paulo completed only 2 weeks before kickoff and ended up 285% over budget. Of the 83 infrastructure projects in the 12 host cities, 21 were postponed until after the tournament. Others were only partially completed, including airports at Salvador and Belo Horizonte. Some of the partially completed projects created safety hazards, including a fatal highway collapse as seen in this picture. So next I'll discuss the outcome of the 2014 World Cup. It was a successful World Cup. Germany ended up winning the tournament by beating Argentina in the final. However, there were significant cost overruns. 2014 World Cup cost an estimated $11.6 billion, which makes it the most expensive World Cup ever. The original budget was approximately $1 billion. And despite the government promising the people of Brazil that most funds would come from the private sector, less than 15% was covered by private investors. It was later discovered that Brazilian politicians and officials had received huge kickbacks for at least half the 12 stadiums that were renovated or built for the World Cup. Over 100 politicians have been investigated, and the investigation is still ongoing. It turned out that corruption at all 12 World Cup venues accounted for 30 to 40% of the final construction costs. Finally, many of the stadiums used in the World Cup are now being underutilized, used for other purposes, or not being used at all, or have been shut down for repairs due to safety concerns. These pictures show the infamous Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro since the World Cup, which has been left abandoned due to various legal battles. And the most expensive venue, Estadio Nacional Mané Garrincha in Brasilia, is currently being used as a bus depot. Finally, I'll discuss some lessons learned. As far as scope management, the project manager must be realistic about what can and cannot be accomplished. It's extremely important to carefully define the scope in the early phases of the project. As far as a project manager, you must have your finger on the pulse of the project at all times. When you notice signs of issues, you must act immediately to mitigate any potential risks. For example, you could provide more resources, more money, more time, or you could change vendors. Whatever you need to do to get the project back on track again. Finally, performing a risk assessment early in the project lifecycle can save a tremendous amount of time and money later in the project. Also, it can be extremely beneficial to involve others with experience with similar projects early in the project. For example, it would behoove Russia, the host of the 2018 World Cup this summer, to reach out to various Brazilian project managers who were in charge of projects for the 2014 World Cup. Now, even if the projects were failures, there's still some incredibly valuable lessons that can be learned from these failures. All right, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at reinhold.huber@colorado.edu. I hope you all enjoyed my presentation. Thank you all for your time. Have a good night. Thank you.